All right, good evening. Welcome to Dose of Reality with Shukri. Today I have a group of women and men who have been working so hard on our community that they've been doing tremendous, amazing work for us. So I am going to allow them to introduce themselves and then we will start on that. Go ahead. Anyone can go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'll start. My name is Kulia Pringle. I'm a family advocate with the Minnesota Parent Union, and what I do is I support families one-on-one.
Thank you, Collier. Welcome to Dose of Reality.
This is Ruqia Abdi, and I am a community member, and I live in Cedar Riverside, and I'm an author and community organizer, activist, whatever, but a community helper. And
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that I will be over here sharing the current work I'm doing with a great and amazing group that I discovered in the midst of this crisis.
Thank you, Ruqia. I appreciate that. Welcome again.
My name is Sada Al Faham, and I'm a community member. I moved to the Twin Cities maybe a year and a half ago now, and Ruqya invited me to this group, and we found we were doing the same things. I moved here recently, so I'll tell a little bit more about how my community in Ohio was helping me provide with donations so that I could support the work that's being done on the ground.
All right. Thank you so much. Welcome to Dose of Reality. Somebody else? I know we have a lot of women today.
I think Charlene is talking, but her.
Yeah, Charlene's voice, no voice. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, I listened to Shukri and I obediently put off my microphone. let's go all over again.
Yes.
Namaste. My name is Charlene Vaz. I'm originally from Bombay, India, Mumbai. I've lived in the Twin Cities for nearly 17 years. I'm a realtor and the CEO of the Vaz Harwood team, real estate team here in the Twin Cities. And I also live in Minneapolis, and I've just been helping Rukia and Miss Nikima Levy Armstrong gather mass from other communities. So I'm just a community member, and there was a call out for mass, and that's what I'm very good at doing. I'm good at getting people sewing.
Good. Thank you so much. Welcome to Dose of Reality. I am excited to have you on board. Somebody else?
Hi, I'm Deqa Hussein. By training, I'm a special ed teacher, but right now I work for Minneapolis Public School as a director of special ed. I'm a community advocate. I do a lot of work behind the scenes, and this work of donation and going above and beyond, I partnered with Sister Ruqia on this great group, and it's been a blessing to be part of.
Yes, yes. Anybody else left?
Yep.
All right, so we all introduced ourselves. Is that correct? I believe so. What I just wanted to say that is I wanted to take a moment and appreciate everyone that has joined Dose of Reality today. What is the reason of us being here today? Ruqya had organized a group of women that were working behind closed doors that nobody knew about it, but they were doing excellent work. I admired that, and I wanted to recognize every hero women that are in our community that are doing a super amazing, great job in our community that is making a lot of difference that you may not be aware of. So I'm going to allow these women to tell us what they were doing as Minnesota with all the crisis that we were going through and all the demolishing that was happening in this city, all the stress, and they were managing each and every minute of their time to invest in this time of theirs to help the community, to serve the community, to help those who needed time. And I can't thank you enough for doing that for us. So I would like you guys to go ahead and just tell us why did you think you had to do that? What made you put your time and effort into such a group and support our community? What made you do that?
I can
You can go ahead.
go first, and this Ruqya again. And first we didn't plan doing and this thing, and something happened. And whenever something happens and your brain, and although we don't like problems, your brain gets activated and you will be creative, right? And normally when you have experience in the community and you are already in the community, you will not look for data or analyze like what the community need is, what do we have to do. You know what to do. And sometimes you have a power, but you don't realize and that power. And unlike politicians who have to do things like in timely fashion, or maybe only to do things in a camera, like you know what is happening. So what happened is like when the pandemics happened, and I looked into my community, and right there is a need, and the need was very huge. And how do I do in the individual level? And I also work for Hennepin County Library. I'm associate librarian. I'm doing behind the scene and brainstorming how to help the community. But on individual level, I'm over there. So what I saw was like, and the first thing, and mask was like, okay, this community needs to have mask. And then and I was already involved with helping families in the distance learning. So there was a connection. And when you ask people in front of camera something, like, you will not get the right answer. But when you say, hey, why are you doing this, like, it's like, okay, give me ruqya, we are purchasing one time use when we see, and then it's finishing. And sometimes, and I saw people reusing the one time use so that they avoid stigma, because people will say why these people are not and wearing. So I said, you know what, and I need to do something. But sometimes, and in the education system, as a person who's involved and and doing parenting education, and as and a person having a background in child development, you have like different teaching methods. I said, you know what, modeling is something that sometimes we miss. Example, something to look for. Our youth right now are like desperate seeing example of our leaders, what are they doing. So what I saw was, and Sister Nakima and doing and face mask giveaway in the north side. I contact her, and then I try to see, what, this doesn't need a lot of things, I can do it. Then I put a call over there. Amazingly, a lot of people started responding. And then, yes, I'm here, I'm distributing. So, and to bring that story, and kind of a short, and bring to the death of George Floyd, which was another tragedy, and another thing happened. And then what we saw is all the stories are destroyed. And then what happened is there are families that need food. I had some families contacting me. Oh, you know what? I don't know where am I gonna get milk for my child. And then I said, now we need food. Now this is a problem. What do I do? Then I said I have a food and group. And amazingly, and Sarah Pham was the first person said, I can do this. I will go shopping and then do. Oh, and then Dega, and chime it in. And I saw and a lot of other people doing like Sherline and in the food. And although she didn't mention the food, that was something that I saw. Like sometimes people are doing a lot of things. So this was really an amazing. So it like it mingled both of the projects, and it came together kind of. And why? And because the people who were helping me in the mask are the same people who had the same human feeling over here. And I really appreciate and that, and I'm so glad that I landed all this group that are ready to help, and also very sensitive to cultural, because and I have experience in my culture. Sometimes a family wants something, but they don't want their name to be exposed over there. So what happened is this group was amazingly sensitive to the culture. And like I've received names of families and phone numbers, but I put out over there, I have 4 families that are in need in this. And immediately there is a like a response. And also we were delivering. And Deqa call is another time, like she says, I have a full of food behind like in trunk of my car, who should I deliver? And I don't have families yet, wait, like what, keep it with you. Then next day I receive it. So it's like it was coming, and it's really and going great, although we are distributing. But then that is how we came together. And I'm really so great, like in the midst of this and race problem and discrimination, there are people who are really have a good heart and are ready to rebuild our community.
That is correct. Thank you so much, Ruqya. The ideal part of it is amazing. Just the thought of knowing that there are people who need us and they need our support is one of the amazing things you've mentioned. So who would like to add on to that?
I can.
Yes, go ahead. Please do.
So I reached out to Sister Ruqya. I work with Minneapolis Public Schools, and I work with vulnerable communities already, especially in special education. And George Floyd's death, with the all the stores in the Cedar Riverside being destroyed, a lot of our elders in Cedar Riverside were fasting, and I know I just personally identified that they needed water and milk and diapers. So I just called her and I said, "Hey, few of my colleagues and my friends and I have donations of milk and water and diapers. Who do we contact?" And should we just through the group that Ruqya established, we were able to just go out and do, and it was a group that's flexible. It's not like, you have to do it, but you work it to make sure that you are contributing your time equitably, that you're not pressuring yourself. At the same time, doing what is needed to be done to make sure that our families, especially our elders, I have an aunt that lives in Cedar Riverside, so I was able to also call and say, what can I get for you guys? What is the need, that I can come and get it from my side of town? And I think it just blossomed from there.
Perfect. Great. That is amazing. And Sister Sarah, can you tell us what was your idea behind all this group of great job you guys were doing in the community?
For sure. I just want to note that I really didn't do half as much, or even a quarter as much as one of these amazing sisters were doing. Mashallah. I think really I believe that everybody has a role in this to play to rebuild our community. And I wasn't able to go out and do as much protest or anything like that. But I know that my friends contact me. They're like, "You live near Minneapolis. You might know who to reach out to." And I'm like, actually, I kind of don't, but I was able to reach out to Sister Ruqya and then be like, where do we go next? And the group of ladies, I mean, there's so many more that are not even on this call that did amazing work that we just started connecting to each other. So we, one girl in St. Paul, and then she would give to people she knows with sisters in South Minneapolis and the City Riverside community. So we would meet like in Edina to give the food and then give the rest. So it was definitely just where do we need to go? Tell us. We're just the bodies that deliver that food, or we're just the vessel that delivers the funding of where it needs to go to. And it's not like I decide what kind of food it is. Like I said, what kind of lentils, what kind of rice is the best for the families? What kind of milk is the best for the families? And then one of the instructions that I learned was, make sure it's not processed foods, right? Like families need healthy, unprocessed, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. So let's try to work on that. And some families weren't able to get that because there wasn't electricity in the houses. So we brought some hot food. So I think it really is like, what's the direction I need to go in? Tell me where to go, and we'll do that. That's really, again, I really didn't do much. I just want to really emphasize that, because the sisters here just gave the direction and said, I know this person there, I know this person there, and we just went there. That's all it was. Alhamdulillah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Every minute counted. You did a lot also. Thank you so much, Sister Sarah. We'll go with Cheryl.
Cheryline, I have to, I agree with Sarah. I don't feel like I've done much. What I do know is I have a very loud voice. I'm very good at yelling, and I'm very good at asking people for stuff on Facebook. And the internet can be both, can be a good friend when you want it to be. I know the internet very often is the bearer of bad news, etc. I personally, you look for how you can help. And when COVID-19, when the state was shut down, I come from India. And in India, whenever there's a situation of such magnanimity, it's it's given that the poorest of the poor disenfranchised are the ones who are going to suffer the most. They won't get the medical aid, they won't get the food or whatever. And so when this shut down, my first thought was, oh my gosh, who's helping out people in North Minneapolis? It's the most basic stuff, right? Masks. And if there's a short supply of masks, or if there are people holding masks and selling it at exorbitant rates, then the poor can't afford it. It's always economics of scale. And so I was frustrated, and I was trying to figure out what to do. I can't, let me just, I cannot stitch, okay? I cannot even thread a needle, and I'm hopeless at baking. In fact, my husband makes the rotis. My very American husband makes all the rotis and parathas in the house. I'm hopeless with dough. So I was just pondering, and I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, and I noticed I've been a huge fan and admirer of Miss Nikema Levy Armstrong, who's the Black rights activist in North Minneapolis and in the state of Minnesota. She's absolutely fantastic. And I'm also a student of hers. I attend her classes, and I consider her my mentor teacher. So I happened to see a post where she said she had about 50 or 60 masks, and everything disappeared in an hour. She had just decided to have it all event organically. And I said, 50 to 60 masks, that's not enough. And so I wrote to her and I said, do you need help with me gathering masks? And she said, sure, even if I get 10 or 12, that's fine. Now I used to work in advertising for 20 years. Before I became a realtor, I was in advertising marketing in 20 years. And marketing is all about word of mouth, right? Just for getting the word out there. So how do you market this need? Now I am the queen of social media. I'm very proud to say that. So as Ms. Rukia knows, but I joke, but I'm joking and yet not joking. So on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Nextdoor, and on Facebook in particular, all the deeper neighborhood pages and mom pages, I literally put a call out. I said, Miss Nikema Levy Armstrong is organizing a free event where masks need to be distributed. I'm collecting them on her behalf. Anything will help. If you have medical supplies, we'll take it. Now, this was in March. And to my shock and delight, in 3 days, we collected over 300 masks.
Wow.
I was shocked. So I took that to her. Miss Nikema thought I was joking till she saw the whole lot. So the following week, I asked her what her plan was. And she said, I plan on doing this every weekend. So I said, let me help you. And so besides helping people buy and sell homes now, I also try to fit this in. I started doing this early morning, late at night. I literally, my husband and I, we would drive to people's homes and collect their masks or whatever. But it's reached a point, and we started doing this in March. I am so glad we started doing this. Miss Nikema started this drive in March because when Mayor Fry had announced that it's mandatory. And that's why I have a huge problem with the way politicians work, because they don't really think, good intention, but very often the way they think does not align with communities of color, communities with who are from, I'm being very polite right now. They really do not think. Communities of color, communities who are suffering economically, politicians don't really think. And when he put that out, Ms. Nikema quickly texted me. She said, do you know we have so far distributed over 3,000 masks because of what you did? And I said, that's impossible. And she said, no, that's what it accrued to. Slowly, the little bits of masks. But what my point is, at least 3,000 people in North Minneapolis got the mask. And COVID-19 is a serious disease, because even when people assume, people are dying, and then and then there are some people who are recovering. Not so. Even those who are recovering are showing it's difficult for them to walk, it's difficult for them to breathe. It's going to be a long process. So, how can we save ourselves and save our families and neighbors? The simple things to just wash your hands, wear a mask, etc. So I literally tripled up on my efforts. I reached out to individuals who lived in different suburbs, and I said, I need some soldiers on the ground in those suburbs. If you can do what I'm doing, be the collection point. For example, people in Maple Grove, one person. If you can collect whoever can donate in Maple Grove, if you can collect and then give it here. So suddenly now it's tripled up. So when Miss Rukaya, I call her Miss Rukaya, and is that okay? I cannot call. She's so cute, but Sister Rukaya, I noticed. So I keep fluctuating between Miss and Sister. So when Sister Rukaya reached out and said, "Can you help me?" Because and I said, "Sure." And I said, "Where do you live?" And she said, "I live in Cedar Riverside." I said, "That's 5 minutes from my home. You should have been calling me a long time ago." And that's how we met up. And now she's my new bestie. So, but but one of the things I want to say that I'm a little, so to Sarah's point, it's all, you have a need. You don't need to be a politician or someone with a title or anything. If there are brains and hands and feet on the ground, people, it's like a chain reaction. Someone has to ask, and then there are people with genuine hearts who want to help out. And to Sarah's point, I don't feel like I've done anything. Like I said, I cannot bake and I cannot sew, but I'm good at asking people for stuff. And I think I've become like my Indian mother, very persistent. I don't take no for an answer. But
Yeah, right.
one thing I am proud of, though, is these things on, these extenders. So one of my neighbors came over. She was making a lot of extenders. Her husband was making these extenders for doctors. And she happened to have a few. And she said, I just thought, I noticed the mask making thing. I think you should take some. And I said, how do you use it? And she said that. She explained it to me. And she said, do you know of any doctors? I said, no, I don't really know of any doctors who need extenders, but I can find out. By complete coincidence, 15 minutes later, that was the first time Miss Rukeya wrote to me and she said, do you have any masks? And she said, we're having these masks. And I asked her what type. She said, the tie back or even. And then she happened to mention that the ones with the loops, elastic loops, tend to hurt, but people like them. And I said, why would it hurt? And then it's like a bulb went off in my head, because if you're wearing your scarf, if a doctor just has their just has their surgical cap on, that's just one layer of fabric. But Muslim women have several layers, so of course it must be really compressing the blood vessels. And I said, oh my God, I think I may have an idea for you. And I showed her, and she, like me, asked me, what is that? And I had to explain to her. And then she said, holy cats, well, let's just do this. And the first set was, I think, 10 or 15, and they were a huge success. So now I've been asking for masks and I've been asking for extenders. And literally so I was late coming to the call because a lady just came by. She and her husband are engineers, and she just gave me about 150 of these. And she said by next week she should have about 500 more. But these are the extenders that are working fantastically with hijab, just so you know. Also, if you have a
will that be on the back, on top of the hijab, or will that be
on the back?
On the back. Okay, perfect. I think that's a great idea. I didn't hear of it, and it's good that you're talking about it right now. So our sisters in the community and around the world will be aware of that. And I'm sure you said you're giving it around the community. Will that be right?
I'm giving them to Miss Rukeya because what I do, like I said, I'm just like Sarah correctly said, we are just vessels. I would rather Miss Nikima and Sister Rukeya talk about it, and Sister Rukeya is a better voice than me.
Okay. All right. Sounds great.
Just so
Thank
you
you so
know.
much.
Of
Thank
course.
you. I will go ahead and allow Lucia to tell us a little bit about her work behind this group. Julia,
Pardon me?
Sister Julia, are you there?
Julia.
Yes, I'm here. I can barely hear you guys. You both were cutting out. So I'm Kalia, again, a family advocate with the Minnesota Parent Union, and what I do is support families one-on-one. Initially, I do what Rakia does, support families navigating the education system, educating them on their rights and policies, then organize and mobilize to change the education system. And then when the shutdown happened, the need for families was I need food, I need transportation money, I need Pampers. So I changed my what I was doing and started doing what Line does, and just ask my Facebook friends, hey, this family needs help. Hey, this family needs help. Can somebody help me? Can somebody help me help this family? And then when the murder of George Floyd happened, that compounded the situation. So, like yesterday, I just recently did my focus has been, I know there's a lot of drop-off sites that people can go and get stuff now at spaces, but before COVID and during this, my focus has always been, I know there's a population that don't have cars. I've been in that situation. I can't get to where the stuff is. I can't pick up all that stuff. I got to ask somebody for a ride. And if you're homeless and you've already asked for a whole bunch of things, you're just not willing to go ahead and just be, oh, I need a ride to go, you just don't want to keep asking for things. And so my focus has been for people who don't have the transportation, multiple kids. It just wouldn't work out for them to get out to try and pick up things that they can't carry. So I've been going to where folks are and making sure that they have the essential items that they need, and calling out volunteers to drop food off. And then another thing too is when you go to the food shelf and things, you never really get what you want. You just get sort of what you can. And that's always been my thing too. When you're poor and you're begging, you can't, they always say beggars can't be, choosy. And it's like, well, why not? I don't eat this stuff, so why do I have to eat it? You know what I mean? So my focus has been not only to get to folks who don't have transportation, but also get the things that they actually want and need and will use. So that's what I've been on.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate your help in the community and supporting our women here that are
For some reason, I'm sorry, dear. Your voice, for some reason, your connection is not good. I can barely hear you.
Oh, you guys can barely hear me?
No. Is it anybody else or is it just me?
Can anybody else?
I can hear.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. I think it's only you. Okay. So what I want to know, how many locations, Ruqayya, do you remember serving in the community with the food? And can you tell us what were you serving in each location that you guys were serving? Could you tell me a little bit how you organized that as a coordinator?
And first, and it's amazing that, sometimes you have in your brain like the immediate community that you're in because you can see them. And that's how I started the mosque. But the food, for example, how I started is because of families living on Lake Street that were in danger, right? And then even in the night time, and when this problem of looting and burning started, we were in contact, kind of checking on each other, like, are you okay? And where can you go? And that was a little bit and bigger thing and scarier thing how all it started. I even had to contact a person and leading on the Red Cross here and ask it, if a family needs immediate evacuation, where can they go? Do you have a space? So I got a number. I kind of started sharing and asking even people. And although I'm not good like Sherilyn in Facebook, but I put on over there things, and I received few and an individualist and saying, and if anything, any family need is a place, and like there is a brother and Zafar Sadiq, and said, I'm ready, I will host. And so there are people contacting me in public and private saying, I'm okay if there is a family in need, and let me know. That was really like that's what keeps me. Sometimes you are paranoid when you see something happening, and you remember, I have been through this thing, and when the civil war happened in Somalia, but then right now we need to manage this thing, and many people came on board helping. So that is how it all started, but who is responding became more. For example, and Sister Kulia and brings, like, in addition to seeing her helping people and get food, but she's also family advocate, and that's like where I'm in strong. Like, I'm always to family and education and kids. So it was like we were complementing each other. Like I said, you know what, we need to and bring her. And one of the some families that an example needed something in my area, and Korea took over, and many people respond one time. And sometimes it's like a competition, and I love that competition. Sometimes it's not good to have a competition, but many people respond to the group, and you see some of the people, like, it's like they're there. I'm like, okay, and I'm here. And then someone texted me, I'm here, and in the building, in front of the building, Korea is sending me, and I have the materials for the families. Oh, okay. And I'm in another meeting for my work. I said, okay, now it looks like I'm doing like maybe 3 and full-time jobs, but it's something that's making me and feel better. Sherilyn also is somebody really, and not only mask also, and she focused at mask, but she also participated with food and necessities, and maybe she's doing it unconsciously, but she's also doing that. And one thing that I would really like to highlight is, and when I was doing the mask giveaway yesterday, which was like scheduled, but then there was another event happening over there, and I realized that I have good enough normal, like a regular giveaway, like about 200 masks. And I know, and when there is an event, kids will come out, everybody's gonna come up. I start freaking out. I put a call over there, and amazingly, Caroline managed to bring another 200 yesterday, and she
Wow.
didn't even send, she was there giving out to people. So we give it about 400. And so I don't know where they come from. I know they came from every corner in Minnesota. And but then we started as Minneapolis, but the need expanded because we are connected to each other as human. Although we have to be and saying, I have this skin, I came from here, I came from there. We have a heart, same feeling, human feeling. So we are connected. And I would love if we start making a map how many places we started and how many places we ended. But the thing is like the map will keep growing, because we see a person living in a place that we don't even think they need something, but that person has something. It doesn't mean that they need something. So what is amazing about this group is networking into each other, identifying a family who needs something, and then who has it, or where the resource is, and people are ready to deliver. It's like we formed our own community soldiers that are on the ground. No matter what's happening, we are here to take care of each other. And that's what was happening. It's like endless, it keeps on expanding. And each of us, we were thinking in the mind, it was Minneapolis, especially South Minneapolis, and then North Minneapolis. Because one of the things that I would like to say is, we already had disparities that did not get addressed by our politicians, our leaders, and we now took over, and it's working, and we're doing a great. And I am really so glad. And no matter who has a title to do something in certain area, we have the power, and we're doing it. And I hope this makes us and keep doing things, like, because sometimes you feel helpless, you can't do anything. But to be honest, like, and I, for example, last week was a little bit tough week for me, and I had many friends and reaching me saying, Rukia, and you need to stop and few and at least a day or two, and then do a self-care. I would love to tell my friends 50% of my self-care is helping. When I help, is healing. If I know there is a need and I sleep, I'm worried. So that's not a self care. I can't even sleep. But whenever there is a need, I had to do and helping an event that gives me a boost of morale, energy. I don't know where it's coming from. That's like my natural. I cannot, even if it's a midnight, I have to wake up, do something. So helping is healing for me. So 50% of my healing is covered. The rest will be the food that I eat and the normal and sleep that I take. But yes, I'm helping and it's healing me. Thank you so much for reaching out.
One thing I will tell you this for sure, Ruqya, you're one hell out of woman in this community, and you have done more than we can imagine, and we're very thankful. Thank you so much for putting your effort, your energy, your time, your commitment to make a difference in this community. Speaking of politicians and all that, part of this conversation. I think I will agree with some of you ladies that you have taken over, and you became one of the people that were serving this community incredibly. Like I was like, where's all this food coming, and why is it only women doing it? And I mean, women power. That was super great. Unfortunately, I wasn't available to help because I work from home all day. So I wanted to ask you guys, how was that working with you, putting in your hours and time and scheduling? Who was delivering what area? I think some of the ladies that I was aware was delivering milk to the mosque or things like that. Could you tell me a little bit about that? How was that working for you ladies? Could you explain that to me? Well, to everybody.
Can I just jump in on this one real quick? I'm the same way. I'm working 5 days a week from home, and so my availability was only on the weekends. And so on the weekends, we go and see who needs help, like what can I help with, and things like that. And so I think it just depends on what your availability is, and you can do any small thing. I hope that it serves. I mean, because there's such a so many people that want to help, different people can help in different ways. So even just a couple of days ago, somebody said, I need some menstrual pads. And so like 3 people were like, okay, I can get them to you, but can you pick it up? Can you whatever? And then another sister said, oh, I'm already at the store, I'll pick it up, So it just really depends, like just that coordination, like Sister Ruqayya was saying, like we can support each other in whatever you can do. So like, for example, next time I go to the store, I know, and I should have thought of this before, but again, a good reminder for each other is like that those small items of toiletries and things like that, everybody always needs that. Those are the things that are always missing. And I remember when working with the homeless population back in Ohio, we know there's like, you need razors, menstrual pads, and socks. Those are like the 3 things I always need, right? So to add those into to whatever you're getting and things like that would be really helpful. So your availability is your availability. What you can do is what you can do. And there's so many people to coordinate with and help each other out. So it's not just about one person, it's about everybody working together.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was very clear.
In my case, all I did was, I asked people, and as I said, I'm a realtor, and people are still, so despite COVID and everything going on, people are still buying and selling. So how do you fit this in? I started time blocking my calendar. That's as simple as that. I looked at my calendar, I broke down, I have 3 young kids, and my husband and I were both realtors. So I told him, this is really very important to me. So he said, don't worry, babes, I'll handle most of the work if this is what you want to focus on. Because I think as Ms. Ruqayya said, our children are looking up to us as role models. We can't panic, we can't freak out, but we have to show how we can each find the leader inside ourselves. So I asked my oldest son too. I just said, let's time block Mama's calendar. We'll I'll put out a post at so and so time. We'll figure out when to go do pickups, etc. But it's reached a point where there are people coming from the mosques are coming from all across Minnesota. Initially, my husband and I, we would drive to each location and pick up the mosque. Then people generously said, I will drop it off at your place. And that seemed to be far easier to coordinate, because when I went picking stuff up, I managed to get 200, 200, whatever. When people dropped it off, they're talking about 500 masks a week. So that has proved to be better. Like I was so touched, because yesterday someone, no, in fact, early this morning, this woman drove all the way from Duluth to drop off about 150 masks. And I don't even know her. I didn't even meet her, but she put a note and all that, and there was this bag of masks. I've received medical supplies from somebody in North Dakota. They drove all the way to drop it off. This is incredible. I have done nothing. It's all these amazing people, both men and women, who have sewn all these masks together. And I think everyone wanted to do something but didn't know how to put their mask forward, because there's only so much that nonprofits take. And there's something I would like to add too. It's better to give it, if you want to help communities of color, it's better to give those supplies or masks to leaders within those communities, because people would rather listen to their leaders than listen to nonprofits, which unfortunately, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but most of the nonprofits, even though they are good intentioned, it's problematic because most of their boards are white. So they don't really boil down to the situation. Like to Sarah's point, you need socks. It's the little things that count. It's the subtleties. They don't get those subtleties. It's better to ask leaders of the community, what is it do you want? And go straight to the leaders. So I prefer giving the mask straight to Miss Nakima, because people in North Minneapolis would rather hear her than have someone like Mayor Frey dictate to them, hey, you have to wear a mask. No, that's not cool. Do you see what I'm saying? So I know
Yes.
I probably will get into trouble for saying a lot of things, but I've noticed time and again, when stuff needs to get done, it's women who are problem solving on the ground level. And very often you're problem solving with nanoseconds on your hand. I am just grateful to everyone who has jumped in and given in the mask. I'm especially very grateful to Eric Lindahl and Wendy Graham, this wonderful neighbors who came up with the first set of extenders. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten that idea. And Liz Radel Freeman and her husband, who now their focus is just on making these extenders. So
Amazing.
because our goal is to, at least I know Ms. Rukaya's goal is to make sure that every woman, every Somali woman and every Muslim woman in Minnesota will be able to get an extender that will not hurt their ears. It makes mask wearing
Thank you so much.
it's just the littlest of things. But
Yes. Thank you so much, Sherilyn. We really appreciate your energy on this. Defa, go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you did, your background.
Um, to answer the previous question, how do you make it work? I work five days a week as well. I have a full-time job that is taking 14 hours of my day, literally 8 to 6. But my trunk is full. So when I go shopping for my own kids, I also buy a lot of stuff. So like right now, when I do get a block of time, like if I have a break between meeting that is 2 hours, my car has and had for the last 4 days um, ice cold diapers and water. And it's not just Minneapolis. You asked location earlier. It's where the families are. So there are some families that live in Hiawatha area in Minneapolis, and them families that live in the university in St. Paul, the area that got really destroyed. And because I used to live there, I know some people that would reach out to me, and I was able to make it work. I'm also blessed to be like a special ed teacher, where I've already been doing. I tried as hard as I could to stay away from any of the nonprofits I'm part of. Like I work with Autism Society of Minnesota. I work with Somali Parents Autism Network, and I am like a public educator. But I didn't use that. I used my mother tone, like my mother sense. As a mother, as an educator, you know what your families want. You know what your and for me, it was just getting the milk, getting the diapers, and getting the water.
Yep.
So my plans for this weekend, I will be in Cedar Riverside, is to distribute more, and my trunk is already full.
Yep. I just wanted to also commend, I also wanted to say that
thank you. And definitely let me ask you
I think it's broken.
a question on that, Sharon.
I think you're broken. Is the connection broken?
I can hear
Yeah.
both.
I don't think we can
Go
hear
ahead.
Shukri.
Go
Can you
ahead.
guys
We
hear?
can hear you.
Frozen. Yeah.
Oh, we have Layla. Come on. Welcome.
Hi there. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay.
Happy to join.
Thank you.
I just wanted to quickly say that I'm very grateful to the Indian community because a lot of people. I think I'm one of very few Indian families that resides in.
Can you guys hear me right now?
Oh yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
Welcome. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. So I'm one of very few Indian families that lives in Minneapolis, and most of Minnesotan Indians live in the suburbs. So when told them, and I live right in the third precinct, and I wrote to them, I said, we have no food, nothing. In 2 days, a few community leaders like Kuhu Singh, Padma Nadella, and Sheetal Kirtikar and Lakshmi, they gathered, I think, close to about 200 to 300 bags of food in 2 days, and literally the women just came by and donated. So I'm good. So again, to Sarah's point, I really didn't do anything. I just asked them. But as Miss Hussein correctly said, I just told most of the women, follow your instincts. You follow your mother instincts. What is it that parents usually want? And she's correct. It's things like milk, diapers, and all that. But thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah, definitely. And Dek, I was just gonna ask you a quick question on the note that you said. You did not ask other organization, nonprofit, and things like that. Just want to make sure, ladies, was this essential buying all this equipment and all this stuff for the families and the people you guys were helping? Was this coming from your own pockets? Let me just make that clear. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
For me, it was a little bit from me, and my friends in Ohio reached out to me and said, how do I support? So we raised I would say seven women donated, and a couple from here too, but they couldn't leave the house, so they just donated. So again, everybody has their role and everybody has something to do. So it wasn't all for me.
And the people, the friends that I invited,
you guys,
the friends that I invited, they were willing when they show up. The first 2 weekends we went to Cedar Riverside. My friend showed up, and she's also like she told me to keep her name separate because she works for one of the big companies or state institutions. She filled her car with milk and water from her pocket. I did the same. A few of my colleagues wanted to jump in. If they couldn't make it, they gave us some money, some donation, and I would write it on the thing. I have such amount of money. Which families can we, even the people who wanted to donate stuff but couldn't, donated money. So it started with us in our own pocket, but we also took the help of anyone who wanted to help. That's what's easier when you're donating out of your pocket and you don't have the barriers of nonprofit and the bureaucracy of waiting because the need is so urgent.
Yeah.
That's why I stayed away from any nonprofit or mentioning any nonprofit, because I wanted that freedom to help with my own money.
Yeah.
Same with the Indian community. Same with the Indian community. Every
Thank
family,
you.
every
Thank you
family,
so
every with the Indian community, all of them donated, came out of their own pockets. I think we all profits have way too much red tape and bureaucracy, and rather than go that route, it was easier to just pull out your checkbooks, and a lot of people wanted to help, so it was great. So that was fantastic. Over 200 bags of food in 2 days. I was blown away that when I heard about that.
Yeah,
thank
same thing for us. It started out first with just myself,
Okay. Thank you so
and
much.
then I thought, yeah,
Layla.
sorry, Lila. I apologize. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Lila Al-Tawili. But I wanted to share that in my community too, I identified a few anchors, network anchors, so people who were highly connected to other people, and we just started to send out the message. And we honestly, mostly people donated money, and then on several trips, we went out and still continue to pick up the supplies and the food. We've also helped a few families with money for housing, for food, living expenses, and those have all been big donations and anonymous donations. So people have wanted to stay anonymous, I've been serving, and a couple of other people who have been helping me. We've been serving just as connectors. So just connecting the need with the people and kind of moving funds and supplies and things like that around.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much,
much.
Anna and Leila, for mentioning that. It's all about using your own power, and yes, the money that was coming from individuals and was helping. And for example, and Sarah says, "Oh, I have 200," and Dara says, "I have about 250 to and do shopping for that family." I'm like, "Which family?" I'm like, sometimes you confuse. Like, guess there's so many family in the child. Okay, that family. Then I go back over there, and it's amazing that Leila is mentioning that helping also out and rent and bills, and we didn't reach all that much, but Leila was good at kind of doing that. And I'm glad that we are also mentioning people from other states who cannot be over here, but look at, they trust us, they see us doing the work, and they send you money, and you're going and buying. And yes, and organization is like non-profits and will not be able to do. But I want to emphasize that every organization can still do something. But I think sometimes when we think about the, it's like a systemic racism, for example, it's something that following policy that was over there, that's not working for us anymore, right? But then I would love to see non-profit organizations changing their policy, because when you and say we will only purchase for this and this family, and but the families' need are different, and you are not syncing with them, you're
Exactly.
out of context. So I hope this pandemic will give us teach us lesson is that we have to respond and we have to meet the needs of our own community.
Um, the reason for this platform was Dose of Reality was to bring these women to encourage the community at the time of crisis what effort we have to put back to our community. And like Ruqia has said and the rest of the women were indicating is that every single move you make is an example to our kids and the generation that are coming. We are giving them something that they will learn, that they need to be part of in the future. So much has happened for 2020, and just the power, the energy, the time frame, the moment of this togetherness from our community without any leadership of leaders telling us what to do has made me uh, amazed by the work that you guys just decided to create, and Ruqya coordinating a group of women and everyone coming and giving in their mind, their thoughts, their energy. That is super unbelievable. Like I'm just amazed. So doing that together, what does he say is back in this community? Togetherness. And what I'm seeing here is different diverse. I have different people that I've joined in this group of my show right now. I think the whole community is aware of, they can see. And that togetherness is what we needed for such a long time. 2020 has brought that to us in many ways. And I can see the hard work that you guys have put back to our community without any leadership from the people that we have chose, that had nothing to do with what you guys are doing, for what you have done for this community back here right now, which is it's a history for me, having such women getting out of their comfort zone, leaving their family at home, their children with their husbands, and with this heat outside, with all the crisis and the trauma that was going on, being outside there, driving hours in different locations, which I heard you guys were driving from Burnsville and Fridley and all these locations, and just making sure that everybody needs were met. So I don't know how to thank you, and I hope that the people that are watching this, the people that are going to watch me on the TV, every woman that has joined in today and talking, I just want you guys to do me a favor. I want to hear a thank you to these ladies. We may not do much for them, which we won't. They have already done much for us, but we need a thank you for the women that are in our community and the effort that they've been putting for all of us. So I want to thank you guys so much. But one last question before we close in was, what were the specific people that you guys were focusing? Was it elderly, homeless locations? Was it disability people? Could you tell the community what were the most effort places you guys have put in?
This is Kulia. So I, as a family advocate, initially when I started this journey, I wanted to make sure I covered as many communities as I could. So I've got a East African Somali Mustafa who I work with to make sure that I am able to engage in that community. Then I have Latines, Veronica and Adriana Cirillo, who helped me with that community. I'm still working on my Indigenous and Asian, trying to get somebody from that community so I can help those communities as well. So that was initially my basis, is to cover the African American, East African, West African, Latine, low income families. And then when COVID hit, it was more so families in that category who weren't mobile. So it didn't matter their age or whatever. It was just, I don't have the transportation. Even if I do have the transportation, maybe I don't have the gas. Maybe I don't have the babysitter to hold the kids. Maybe my situation doesn't present itself to where I could go out and try to find resources. I need your help. Can you bring me the resources? So that's pretty much my focus. My focus is anybody who is really having a hard time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You focused on the most sensitive part of our community that needed most of the help. Thank you so much. And keep doing what you're doing. That makes a better future for all of us. Another question that before I let you guys go was, what would you say that you need back from the community after you've come together and have put so much effort in this? What do you want us to be part of? What requests do you have for the community? Would you tell us a little bit about that? Your thoughts on your work.
I want people to ask more questions. Reach out, not the politicians or the non-profits, but reach out to people who don't have what you have. Don't take it's nice to stay in your beautiful houses and whatever in the suburbs, etc. And also ask the people who genuinely need So it just baffled me that, when it completely baffled me. I'm glad Miss Nikima started the mask giving efforts in April, in March when she did, because oh my God, when the politicians made it mandatory for everyone to wear a mask, those living in North Minneapolis and people with severe economic disparities would have suffered.
That's true. Thank you.
So I'm trying to tell, so this is what I've told everyone, and I continue to tell my neighbors, friends, etc. Reach out to those. You never know, there's someone in your circle who's suffering and is too embarrassed to ask for help. It's up to you to identify that. The clues and the signs are all there. Look for them.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Who else would like to add on to that? Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, so I want to add that I think there's a place where we survive and there's a focus on surviving. And I think that's really important and it's not about helping, it's about uplifting. How can we uplift and empower our communities? And if I'm living in the Twin City metro area, this is my community, end of story. There's no like, who am I helping? What am I helping with? I'm helping my community. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what social connections do we have with each other? So really creating, and inshallah, when COVID is done, and whether it's in a year or 2 years, and we start to gather together, what social connections do we have, and where can we step outside of our bubbles to meet with each other? And I think that will be a powerful piece to help people create a more positive community around themselves, and really take ownership that this is my community and I'm helping my community, or I'm supporting my community. Actually, take away the word help. We're going to empower and uplift, and we're going to stop surviving and hopefully start thriving, because that's the next step. We can't be a community if we don't thrive. That's my little rant.
I like that, Sarah. Thank you so much, Sister Sarah. I appreciate your energy on that. Thank you so much. Who else would like to add what they think that we need in our community that will make it much easier as what you guys have been doing for us?
Can I add something? Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
I was going to say, I think somebody hit on it earlier, just about the bureaucracy of it all, right? When people start all these millions of dollars going into these things, but we as grassroots organizers know the barriers that actually exist, and for the money to come directly to us, and then we can then really get at the needs of our community. To me is what I've really seen. It's like we can, like, people always are talking about the issue and what do we need. Like, there's people in our community, we know what to do. And even when we work for the organizations that we think that coincide with whatever it is our vision is, there's still those barriers, and we can't really do what we really think needs to be done. So it's like, for me, the most important thing is, like, there's women like us that we have our regular jobs, we have our families, we have this and we have that, and we still manage to coordinate and you know what I mean, feed our families, get our masks out. I mean, just the things that we're doing, and we're doing it directly. No, you don't have an application fee and a waiting time and you know what I mean, just the long list of things. No, you're denied. And what that does to somebody, you know what I mean, when you come and ask for help and you're denied. So I think that's for me what I'm asking for community.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Can I just add something? So that touched on like the organization level. I would actually just add on the individual level. I live in the suburbs, and just like earlier what was said, the signs are there, right? But there are some of us that are more in tune with the signs, and we're more involved, right? So when I go into my community and I say, I need to help this family, I think on an individual level, a lot of times people question the validity of the struggle. And so I would say, open your hearts and open your minds. If you know I do this work and I come to you and I say, I'm collecting money for a family that's probably humiliated to say they need rent money, but I don't want you to question that there's somebody who needs rent money. You don't need to know who they are. You don't need to know, their ethnicity. You don't need to know their religion. There's a family that needs rent money. So you either want to help or you don't want to help. And I think for me, just coming from the suburbs, I spent too much time making people feel comfortable at times before they were willing to give. But there were, I mean, that was just a small percentage or a small number of people. But on an individual level, I think people need to just come to terms with, I either want to give or I don't want to give. Yes, you have the right to ask questions, but we also need to open our hearts and open our minds. And it might not make sense to you because you come from a privileged background, but understand that these things do happen.
All right. And Deqa, what would you add? Thank you so much, Leila.
I would echo what everyone said. And from just knowing our cultural norms and the social stigma with that comes with asking for money or anything, I would ask the public actually to look at this with humility and empathy. If someone is asking money or if someone is asking necessary items, we shouldn't have to ask any questions. And this is why we avoided the whole asking nonprofits not. So because of time and because of the inequities COVID has exposed, I feel like our whole community has the charge to look and help people with humility and help with their hearts, because our hearts function better than our brains.
Thank you. That is a great note there. Thank you so much, Deqa. Who else? Ruqia, would you add to that?
Yes, I would like to add.
Behind the great work.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody. I'm really so grateful and seeing all of you and helping. And yes, everybody mentioned that it's difficult and to help out and the community leaders. And I would love and our community kind of see whatever we are doing. And sometimes people interpret when you ask something. That's why, like when you what are you asking? Like we're not asking recognition and praise on that because our plan was not that when we started doing this. But I want them to understand, like, and whenever there are some people in the community, we have all like different abilities, right? And use the connectors in your community, respect them, and when you need, because whatever title you have, you will need them one day. And although it's clear when people need us is when they need votes, but whatever you do during this crisis is gonna determine and how people react to you, right? So let's be human. Everything, the reason we are running away, and someone mentioned that, I think it was Caroline, like someone wanted to donate something, but they didn't want their name to be exposed because they're working for whatever corporate. And look how we're scared even to say I'm helping somebody. We don't want. And the same, like, how are we like thinking and doing this? Human needs something. And yes, when people need something, they don't need to have a application, although that's how we get money. It needs to have a title sometimes, but we can modify whatever we used to do, right? And imagine, and we keep saying we are and having families that are struggling. For me, I'm focusing families, for example. But what is a family? It's a child, mother, it's elders, it's everybody. When we even say it, what is family? But the good thing and about here is, and when Leila is saying there is a family needed something, I'm not gonna ask Leila, is that family Egyptian or Somalian? Because I'm not gonna refer anything, right? And same way, I'm not gonna ask Julia, is that person, and from north or from south? We need to help families. And when you say I'm helping a community, what does it mean? You are representing a community that consists of several ethnicities. For example, people right now, they see I'm helping the Somali community, but the reality who's coming and it's Oromo are coming. And I have so many neighbors that are and Spanish, they're coming over there. Filipinos are coming. This is what the community is. And also right now I'm receiving masks in the mail coming from at the end of Minnesota. People are helping each other. We have to think as Minnesota right now because we need each other more than before. We also have to think, and Maslow is like hierarchy. When people keep struggling getting basic needs, they can't even defend themselves. Those needs doesn't need to be difficult. We need to have like basic needs and like pads for girls and necessities for families without questioning. These things were supposed to be free and we're supposed to have it, but who manages it is a different. And but the final thing that I would like to say is really I'm so grateful about what we're doing. And one thing, and that whatever we may get a chance leading more than this, and I hope, and as Sarah said, we will continue this. We will reflect what did we do and how we grew, right? And for me, and going to the bureaucracy, for example, or and a non-profit organization, I have experience in my own community. Whatever they need, no matter who says you're doing a job or you're not doing a job. For example, in back 2016, I started and working for Hennepin County Library as a cultural liaison, and the need was to connect see the Riverside community to the surrounding libraries. So people were asking why they're not visiting and what is going on. You know, these families here, these families live here. So what I did is, yes, there was statistics that they needed and something, you know, someone to talk to them, but I knew, and from grassroots level, and I did that work, and then I worked with a team and with a like 1,000 grant from Minnesota Department of Education. Within 1 year, we managed it to come into the community, tell them what the library is, connect them to the resources. It was so successful, and this project became a model for other states and the other libraries kind of to look into. When we want to engage communities, what do we want to do? We have methods follow it. So right now, my main point is follow the successful people. The successful people may not be having a title, may not be having a mic, but they need someone to hand over that mic. If your goal is to help, serve. If your goal is not to serve, to show, that's totally different. But what I'm talking is communities, leaders who are servant leaders. Please reach out to your connectors. They're over there in the community helping up, and then take out whatever assumptions that are over there, but think of the work that they're doing and the goal. And I think whatever policy we used to have, we need to modify in order to reach our goal of helping and serving our community. And thank you so much, Shukri, for and really doing this.
Yeah, it's an honor to have such a powerful, strong, successful peacemaker in our community that have joined together and support everyone. I really admire that, and I would like to, from Dose of Reality and myself, I would love to thank you guys so much for the effort that you have put in our community and are working so hard to make a difference for the future and essential needs of our each and every human out there that needs our support. Definitely, we appreciate your work, but I would like each and everyone, before we leave, I want one word that people have to learn, and every human being that needs to know that every woman is a power woman. I need, before you leave this show right now, I will start, and then we will say bye to those of you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Power leader women. Say that and then you leave. Please do that.
So
I am
mine
a
is
power leader woman.
hashtag stand up.
Zakia, go ahead and say that.
So this is Kulia. My hashtag is stand up. We got to stand up.
Right.
Ain't no more sitting down. Ain't no more laying down. Stand up.
Perfect. Thank you, Julian. Who else will add to what they think about themselves?
I'm just going to say empowerment. That's it.
All right. Do I have Sarah? Sarah, tell me something.
Oh,
Right.
I said
All
empowerment.
right, Defa, tell me something.
Mhm.
Humility.
Okay. Perfect. And what do I have? Cheryl?
For me, it's knowledge.
All right. You guys. Cheryl?
Okay. For me, knowledge is power. When you know more.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. Ruqia, go ahead and add one for yourself.
Yes, and I believe knowledge is power, and I would add, be humble always. No matter what you're doing, don't bring yourself. You're up. Be humble. Things will be better.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I will be closing in right now. Thanks for everyone tuning in and all these amazing women joining us today. Your time is counted on this. I appreciate everyone joining us in and tuning in. And stay tuned for tomorrow. Dose of Reality will be with you again. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Bye.
Bye.